When I first saw Vanessa Cooper at a business gala in Tribeca, she wasn't just the most beautiful woman in the room, she was the most dangerous, though I didn't know that then. Her emerald green dress hugged her figure like sin itself, and when she smiled, I swear the chandeliers dimmed out of jealousy, and like every other man there I was hypnotized, but unlike them I was the one she chose. Nathaniel Nate Griffin, 32, the quiet tech entrepreneur whose company, Courtroom, had just been acquired in a semi-secret deal by one of Silicon Valley's biggest players, giving me the kind of net worth that made headlines behind NDAs and private banking walls. I didn't flaunt it, never wore flashy chains or posted Instagram photos in jets. I lived quietly, strategically, which is why when Vanessa slipped her number into my phone with a wink and whispered, "Call me if you're not boring," I should have realized she wasn't hunting for love. She was hunting for legacy, security, control, but I, like a fool, believed it was real, believed the long conversations, the laughter, the soft mornings and wine-drunk nights meant something, and after just 7 months of dating, we got married in a lavish ceremony at Lake Como, with fireworks, floating candles, and a live orchestra playing her favorite symphony. Because Vanessa didn't just want a wedding, she wanted a spectacle, and I gave it to her, every inch of it, never minding that she insisted we sign a prenup because you never know. And it looked fair enough on the surface, but beneath that prenup's vague language, hidden in the fine print, were clauses meant to trap me if I ever slipped, and still I signed it because love makes you blind and stupid, especially when your heart has scars and someone kisses them like she did. The first 2 years were golden, or so I thought. She supported me as I expanded Courtroom's medical arm, cheered me on during boardroom battles, even told me she wanted kids one day, and I thought we were building a future. But slowly cracks began to show. Her late-night girls' trips to Miami, the sudden interest in personal trainers who seemed too muscular for stretching routines, the coldness in bed, the way she stopped laughing at my jokes and started correcting everything I said like I was a project that needed improvement. I brushed it off at first. Everyone has slumps, right? But the lies got bigger, sloppier, and one day, after coming back from a tech conference in Zurich, I opened her iPad by mistake and saw the messages, hundreds of them, between her and a man named Marcus, her nutritionist, who'd been sending her shirtless photos, telling her how he couldn't wait for me to travel again so they could finish what they started. And instead of confronting her, I forwarded everything to my encrypted drive, sat back, and made a decision not out of rage but out of strategy, because I realized then I was married to someone who didn't love me, but loved my potential, my resources, my doors, and now that she thought she had secured enough of my world, she wanted to build her own with someone younger, dumber, and poorer. The betrayal stung, but pain is an excellent teacher, and I knew revenge wasn't about shouting or throwing her out. It was about setting the chessboard perfectly so when I made my move, the game would be over before she even realized it started. Over the next few months, I played the devoted husband, took her on a Maldives vacation, gifted her a Cartier bracelet, even let her redecorate our Hamptons house, because I wanted her to feel safe, smug, certain that I was still in the dark, and all the while I was moving money, dissolving entities, shifting stock options, transferring intellectual property ownership to an offshore trust I'd set up years ago under my grandmother's name, and slowly draining our joint assets into separate accounts she couldn't trace because I'd created shell companies with names that didn't even exist online. She noticed the money starting to tighten, began asking questions about our budget, and I just smiled and said we were investing more into R&D, and she, not knowing the first thing about tech finance, bought it. After all, she'd been too busy attending influencer lunches and sending heart emojis to Marcus to pay attention. Then came the move I'd been waiting for. She filed for divorce through a lawyer named Elliot Branson, a loudmouth who'd represented reality TV stars and posted TikToks about destroying husbands in court, and Vanessa played her part well. She told the press I was emotionally abusive, that I worked too much, that I was a manipulative narcissist who sabotaged her self-worth. And the narrative took off because she was beautiful, articulate, and the world always loves a damsel who cries pretty. I stayed silent, declined interviews, and let her believe she had won because in her mind, she was walking away with half of my supposed $80 million fortune, our penthouse, and alimony for the next 10 years. But what she didn't know was that Courtroom had made a second acquisition after our marriage, worth $740 million, and I had structured it so not a single share was in my name. It was owned by a trust that paid me in royalties and bonuses masked as consulting fees, untouchable under the prenup and untraceable to the divorce, and the documents proving this were sealed tight under attorney-client privilege until the court date. When we finally appeared in court, She arrived in a white suit, sunglasses, and a Chanel bag like she was walking into a red carpet, and her lawyer began with a smug opening statement about how Vanessa had been abandoned emotionally and financially frozen out, painting me as a villain who used complexity to abuse her trust. While I sat there silently, my lawyer, Ms. Patel, a calm, brilliant woman with a PhD in corporate law, waiting until they were done spinning lies, and then she stood, handed a thick folder to the judge, and said, "We request the court to review the updated financial disclosure packet submitted under seal." And what followed was the most beautiful silence I've ever heard, broken only by the turning of pages as Judge Arnold slowly read through the forensic audit, the trust arrangements, the offshore protections, and finally looked up and said, "Mr. Griffin's actual net worth exceeds $900 million, none of which is subject to division under the terms of the prenup you signed, Ms. Cooper." And in that moment, Vanessa's face collapsed, not physically but spiritually, because she realized she hadn't just lost the game, she'd never understood it. The judge continued, "Given the outlined assets fall outside marital property, and considering the pre-agreed clauses, the court sees no basis for alimony or further division." And just like that, everything she thought she was winning vanished, the house, the money, the image, and all she walked away with was the condo in Brooklyn I had gifted her mother. And a leased BMW she'd have to return in 6 months. Her lawyer tried to protest, muttering something about hidden assets, but Ms. Patel calmly pulled out emails showing Vanessa instructing Marcus to drain Nate emotionally and financially, screenshots of her mocking my intelligence, and even audio of her bragging at a spa that she was milking the idiot dry. And after that, the judge had her escorted out for contempt when she started screaming that the system was rigged. I walked out quietly, no celebration, just relief, and weeks later I married Eva, my college best friend who'd moved to London for work and reconnected with me during the trial. Someone who had loved me back when I was still coding from my parents' basement and didn't even own a car. And with her I found peace, not passion that burned hot and fast, but love that healed and grew quietly. Vanessa, meanwhile, became a cautionary tale in elite circles, shunned by the same influencers who once begged to be on her yacht, sued by her own trainer for unpaid rent, and forced to launch a YouTube channel giving relationship advice that no one watched. And one night, she emailed me writing, "I didn't love your money, I loved who I thought you were," and I replied, "You never knew me. You only knew the parts of me you thought you could control." And I blocked her for good, because closure isn't about kindness, it's about knowing that some people only enter your life to show you who not to be. And the best revenge isn't destroying them. It's rebuilding yourself so completely that they disappear in the rearview mirror of your better life.